Three, two, one. All right.
Go.
I never hear the clap on your end.
Yeah, I always hear it on your end, but not on my end. Although my mic did pick it up for some reason. So anyway.
Well, welcome, Action Toon Bros fans, to another episode and a return to one of our older series. Woohoo. This is your host, Matthew Lewis, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Ben Sturgeon.
How do you do, all?
Oh, boy. Yeah, finally back to Young Justice. It's been... maybe a couple years since we've covered this one.
Oh, yeah, like a year or two, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I am very hyped because this has been sitting on my shelf, and like all the other shows I would like to cover that would be tertiarily involved, I feel like I couldn't do another superhero thing until we finally got around to finishing up this series that we kind of left at the height of it, yeah.
And unlike the other Young Justice episodes, you and I had both watched this earlier on because we thought we were going to do it earlier on, but other things came up. So this is going to be one of those rare occasions where I'm not going in blindly this time.
Yeah, I was going to say I love that I got to watch the series fresh and new more recently than the other ones, because like we watched season 3 we had started early before having seen it before, but we saw the first 2 seasons I think before we started even the podcast, but we got to watch 3 simultaneously, and now this one, which has actually came out while we were doing the actual podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
more modern and relevant.
Crazy times. But yeah, this is the one where like you and I both decided we're gonna watch it like as it comes out, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I was so glad that it got wrapped up. I was going to say, reception-wise, I know that this season wasn't received too positively, but having watched the whole thing already at least once, I really enjoyed it, just for the real deep-cut lore shit and stuff that happens in this episode.
Dude,
or
absolutely.
in this arc, but yeah, like I really, really enjoyed it.
There's a lot of, like, arcs. Obviously, we'll get to them when we get to them, but there's a lot of arcs in this one that I was really thankful for, because as Young Justice always does, there are some heavy topics that they take care of very well. They like portray it very well, and they treat it respectfully as well. Yeah. Then
I was gonna say this is the first time they actually structured it like this, with the actual like different like specifically dedicated arcs as opposed to like one-off episode adventures, which the first couple of seasons were for the most part.
Yeah, that's right.
What were you saying?
Yeah, that's right. This is kind of broken up into like different arcs.
Yeah. What were you saying after you said about the serious topics that the show's covering? Yeah.
All I was gonna say was, then again, we've covered pretty heavy topics that the show has taken care of. That they have like they never glossed over anything. So it's just like with this show, it's always a good time. That, and obviously for the superheroes and stuff like that, but also because if you pay attention to some of this stuff, they really take care of some serious shit, and I'm really glad that this is one of those superhero shows that doesn't just like, this person has this one, cool, moving on to the actual stuff you like watching. No, they take the time to actually like take care of certain things, like hey, no, focus on this for a second.
Yeah, there's a lot of the new structure does help like storylines flesh out a lot better than the old episodic thing does. But I'm really looking forward to starting to talk about this, because this arc is very unique. It's something that I don't think I've ever seen really went into in like most DC stuff that I've read, because I never pick up anything specifically either Ms Martian or Martian Manhunter related for the most part. So this whole arc was very, very fascinating to me. But are you ready to start on this first part?
Absolutely, yeah. Let's start it off.
Yep, we are watching Young Justice Season 4, Episode 1, Inhospitable. It opens up with a scene from last season, actually, with McGann and Connor watching the news about the Outsiders, the new team lineup that Beast Boy's leading. And we see that she's giving back his ring because she believes he's still upset with her regarding their like psychic manipulation and stuff that she did on him to like make sure that he didn't fight and stuff like that. So she was prepared to give the ring back and not get married, but Connor does say like, hey, no, we're going to stick together. So they end up kissing and making up and deciding to stay together. And
then
that was the end of last season.
That was pretty much a recap of what happened on the last episode of Season 3.
Yeah.
But then we jump over to Happy Harbor, where, we see the happy couple getting ready to go. And, they
1 year later.
Oh, yeah, yes, 1 year later. Thank you.
Yep, and they're getting ready to go to their wedding on Mars.
Yep. because apparently there's a Martian like tradition to doing things, and Connor was all for this. So
Yeah.
so he and her are getting ready to go on oh wow, brain fart, the ship,
Yeah,
bioship.
yeah,
Thank you.
bioship. We see Forager, Violet, and Terra are the ones seeing them off. We have a little hot lava shout out between Violet and Terra talking about how Brion has not reached out to them since the end of last season.
Right, yeah. And where he's like because if you don't remember from last season, Brion actually kind of did some weird betrayal shit.
Yeah, he like went like full fucking villain mode. I will say that Geoforce, aka Brion, aka Hot Lava, is still like one of my favorite characters of this series, and I like hope we see more of him. But yeah, he like killed
Killed the Baron, if I remember.
the Baron,
right?
yeah, he like literally shoved lava in his mouth and like while he was in captivity, and then he shut off his city from the outside. And I think there was some like hints of him like working with the Lex team. I forgot what they're called, but like yeah, but they're both upset because he has not reached out to them, and even though they've been doing superhero stuff since the end of last season for the past year. Then
and as
we
all
see
this has happened, we actually see Harper and her brother Cullen, but Harper goes over to Halo and it's like, oh hi, how's it going? Being all awkward and lesbian.
Obviously, yeah, everyone like Harper's all horny for Violet.
Yeah.
Her
course,
and her brother are living with Snapper Carr and his wife from the cop we saw last season.
Oh, that's right. His name was Snapper Carr. Real name Lucas, mind you.
Yeah.
But yeah, and his newly betrothed Bethany Carr.
Mm-hmm. We see Beast Boy show up on the phone, kind of backseating the main team while he's gone, since he's going to be going with them for the trip. We learn that it is going to be 1 month traveling between Mars and Earth, but when they're there, they're going to be there for a couple of months, is what the plan is. We also hear that Gar is very weird about him and Princess Perdita's relationship. He's kind of like wishy-washy to see if they're actually still together or how things are going with them. And it's the first hint that something's up with Gar and that he's not completely checked in and all that.
And then we also see Jean, also known as Martian Manhunter, come out of the bioship and be like, "Hey, everything's ready. We can head out now."
Yeah, they get on the ship and they're ready to fly. And Gar wants to take lead, just like in his old show, this like Star Trek ripoff show, which is very funny. He's like, "Yeah, I want to say, okay, engage," as they get ready to fly off. But as they're preparing to fly off, a mystery girl with a L ring watches on from the shadows, semi-translucently. And then we have the new intro, which shows everybody even more adult than they were last season, which is very fun. Except for Connor, who we know does not age.
He really does.
And also, there is some scrambled lettering that in the episode intro that kind of spoils who the final villain is going to be. So I won't translate it now, but just keep an eye out for that because it's important to like the final arc in the series.
Absolutely. And then
on
we
the
cut
ship,
to on the ship when they are on their way to Mars, as the Martians call it.
Mm-hmm.
And McGann and Connor are very excited because it's like, oh, you get to meet my parents. We get to do all of the traditional Mars like wedding ceremony, and we have Gar coming out like being all like gross, brushing his teeth, talking with his mouth full of toothpaste and everything.
He's upset because it's been a month and he's cooped up on the ship for a month, like they told him he would be, but he's still upset about it.
Yeah, he was cranky and anxious a little bit, just a little bit off for Gar. But as they're having that conversation, Bioship decides to drive on her own, and even John was like, "Oh, it looks like she wants to go the rest of the way on her own." And they're like, "Oh, she missed home and everything."
Yeah.
And
we see a quick layout of the city. We see that all the Martian society is like in a big superstructure underneath the surface of the planet, which is why it's all abandoned. That's a common thing for DC story wise. Martian, like why the planet looks abandoned, is because everything is underground. They finally they see that they're entering to the capital, which is Makala Kaandra is the capital of the city.
Yeah, Ma'ala Kaandra, yes.
Yeah. Beast Boy, they land on the ship. They start getting off, and Beast Boy says that he has a little like Martian animal form that he takes on. This cute little like puffy little lizard thing that can like float and stuff like that. That he's gonna stick to for most of the adventure.
And apparently it can like it has a really sensitive tongue, so he can like taste almost everything.
Yep, that is going to be plot crucial coming up.
And also, and also before they like actually land, McGann is like, okay, I made sure to set up, our telepathic link, and just so you know, we are literally going to be in a civilization that does telepathic links. So be careful on what you think, because there's a difference between what you say and what you think out loud.
Yeah, and it's so cool because the entire arc pretty much is like all through like telepathic thinking for the most part, and like it's really we don't get used to like the weird echoey voices and everyone said it's very funny. They land on the ship. They are greeted by McGann's sister in her Martian form. She's a green Martian. We see she is head of science. Megan introduces her as Marie Maors, but she says actually I go by Emery Jones now. And it's kind of get a little side eye from Megan about that choice. Right. Emery says like, "Oh, I'll take on a form that make you more comfortable." As she transforms into the Hello Megan's form that McGann uses all the time. BB is just like, "God, can you please not? That's literally my mom. She just recently died. Please don't do that." And so she's like, "Oh, don't worry. I preferred Rita on the show anyway." And she transformed into Rita, who also just died as a member of Doom Patrol. And Beast Boy's like, "Great."
Right. And like her trying to make everyone feel comfortable, at least that's her reasoning for it. And then of course after Jean like unpacks everything, he's like, all right, everything's set and ready. Bioship actually leaves and takes off. It's like, okay, yeah, she hasn't been home for a while. And this is when we also learn that Emery is working on a Zeta tube between Mars and Earth.
Yeah, using some kind of satellite in between to help like communicate and everything like that. She is McGann and Emery are a little bit distant from each other. We get more like awkward, side-eyeing from McGann regarding the relationship. We're not completely sure why yet. But as they enter the city, we see them kind of exploring around a little bit. She's not used to the amount of people thinking like loudly like on Mars. And they're kind of like walking around society, like, they're all amazed at the people. They see a lot of Martians who are transformed into human appearances because of John Jones's broadcasts. We see like people who look like what's his name? Tim Curry's the news guy.
I know who you're talking about. The guy who's like the Alex Jones of this world.
Yeah, Godfrey. Godfrey or whatever. Yeah,
Guilford Godfrey. Yeah, we'll call him
Guilford Godfrey. Well, it's Glorious Godfrey is the new God form he has, so it's Glorious Godfrey. But yeah, a couple of other random people we see, and they look over and they see a bunch of people looking exactly like the Outsiders and the Young Justice Squad. They're like,
and they're all like,
this is not weird at all.
Right, and they all look over and they're like, oh, that's Connor, that's Superboy. Oh my gosh, that's Beast Boy. And they're all like flocking over, still looking exactly like the Outsiders.
Yeah, they're a little bit weirded out by it, yeah. But
right. But then all of a sudden, like in the distance, as all of this was going out, not only were some of the Green Martians like having some negative talk against like, McGann being a white Martian and Connor being, an Earther, as they call him. And but in the background you see like a few like shadowy like Martians like looking and watching. And as all of the outsider looking Martians appear and they're like, "Oh, dude, you guys are amazing." All of a sudden, Connor and Garfield, they get mind blasted by a whole group of the Green Martians.
Yeah, like all the psychic interference is really overwhelming, and so she kind of just says, "Okay, everybody, we gotta get out of here. Where it's being a little, there's too much feedback and a lot of negative feedback as well, so we gotta get out of here." We cut quickly to Bioship visiting her family. We see a large number of other ships, and she takes on a kind of like weird egg mode like the others. Like plants herself in the weird bio area or whatever the hell it is, and she starts like pulsing a little bit as she's chilling there, and she like went in her weird egg mode. We cut back to McGann visiting her family.
No. Before that, we actually get to the Zeta Tube building, because this is when we meet Counselor General Reese Ada.
No, we meet the counselor after this scene.
You sure? I thought this was right now when this happened.
Yeah, because I have the whole scene with McGann and her parents, and then we get to Emery's job after that. Yeah, we
Okay, okay.
see. Yeah, McGann visits her family. We meet Jan and Maat, which is very just silly, but I just think I'm very silly with some names. But I wanted to point out, Maat is voiced by Carl Lumbly, who it's a very big deal that he's voicing that character, and I'll get into that at the end of the episode because it's kind of relevant to the episode question. But keep in mind, yeah, Maat's her father, who is a White Martian's voice actor. We see that Connor asks for the parents' blessing, and we see like, oh, well, typically the female is the one who gets a blessing. He's like, well, I got blessings from Ma and Pa Kent. I got it from Superman himself. I got it from Lois. I got it from everybody who's involved in Connor's life. And then like Beast Boy kind of makes a side joke about Lex Luthor not being involved. But,
Right. And then also during this conversation, because they're talking about the wedding ceremony and how they have a sorcerer priestess, and Beast Boy.
Oh, that's he asked for exposition regarding the nature of the races of the Martians on Mars.
Well, right. So like, you have I forget. There's Garoons, which are the green ones.
Martian, and they are the majority race.
Yep, they're the ethnic majority. You have the Shen, which is the white Martians, which are the ethnic minority. I forget what the red ones are called.
Bladoon.
Yeah, Bladoon.
Or Bladen?
Yeah,
Bladen or Bladoon, yeah. And they're the red Martians,
which family. Are royalty. So he's like, okay, where do Yellowne, also known as Yellow Martians, come into play?
Yeah. And we find out that they are the sorcerers who are trained, and in their training in the magic of Mars, their skin just naturally changes into yellow, and anyone can, technically, if they're absolutely for it, can train to be a yellow Martian. This is when they finally mention that McGann's 26 other siblings are not showing up to her wedding, and she is, visibly upset regarding this. And we find out why a little bit later.
And by a little bit later, does it happen now, or do we scene change?
No, yeah, right. She asks why they're not there, and then it immediately goes to Emery's job at the Zeta Tube, and we meet Consular General, who's just being a shithead racist against humans.
Yeah, he's just like, I demand you stop this at once. And she's like, what are you talking about? We're supposed to be building this. He's like, no, you're not. And he starts literally like dissing on McGann, starts dissing on Emery and everything. And John Jones, standing right there, just walks over. He's like, hey, you shouldn't be talking about my family like that. He's like, dude, you're the reason why this whole thing started. And he's like, yeah, and I don't regret a damn thing. It's then Emery also mentions to this Riz Edda that these orders for the Zeta Tube come from the Queen herself, and Riz Edda ends it with a typical "we'll see about that," and leaves.
Yep. Yeah, Superboy's a little bit concerned about Megan's feelings, but she says it's fine. She's used to shitheads. It's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. And then we see another invisible Legionnaire, spoilies, that is watching on as they're having this conversation. Another person with the L rings. We cut back to the family again, and some green Martians are heard like outside of the building, outside of McGann's family home. And they're like, kind of like saying shit and like, telling you to come outside, telling him the Earthers to go home and all kinds of stuff like that.
And take the white Martian with you, kind of thing, because they're all green Martians doing this.
Yeah.
And they start also mind blasting, Connor and Gar. In which case, Beast Boy like turns into what was it called? Oh yeah, it turns into
the Ma'alafa'ak.
Yeah, a Ma'alafa'ak. And they all like see me, like they're all like, oh. Yeah, we need to get out of here. That's scary.
They blame turns into the monsters when they brain blast
no, actually, them, they blame that's right. They don't say let's get out of here. They're afraid because of a Ma'alafa'ak, and they start like really attacking Beast Boy. And then McGann stops them and is like, "Okay, get out of here." In which case, another psychic shield goes up, and because of all the pain and stuff, Beast Boy is visibly like not okay and agitated.
Yeah, rattled by it.
But then they turn around and they're like, let's just go back in the house, and there's graffiti on the house with two Martian words. And Connor's like, what do those say? And McGann's just like, a very bad word for Shen. and an even worse word for Earthers.
Yeah. And they kind of go back into the house. The parents, they talk to the parents about the former king and saying he was very progressive in his policies and he was trying to do his best to make things better for all the different races on Mars. But he was killed recently. And since then, the queen has rolled back many of the changes he has made in response to whatever happened to them. As they're like discussing the political situation, we cut to Alifa Ak, her brother, the one who goes by that name. Anyway, it's right because it gets a little confusing. But he's talking to a bunch of white Martians, riling them up about the Queen turning back the policies of the recently deceased king and the recently visiting Earthers and the Zeta Tube and everything like that.
Yeah, just typical rabble rousing from a guy who in the previous season did some very nasty things.
Yeah. We see that Bioship starts floating around with a smaller Bioship, presumably her baby. And they're kind of just flying around having adventures, going through different Mars scenic views and stuff like that. We see like she's having a little adventure of her own while all this shit's going down with the main team. Jean has finished working on the Zeta Tube, and he is like preparing to, do the main launch. The consul general again complained and tries to stop it. He's just being like, a huge shithead again.
Only instead of going directly to, the chief scientist and Jean Jones, he goes directly to the Queen, being like, I must protest all of this.
Yep. And Gar is like still like, oh my god, like Gar's been like, getting a little bit more attitude at this point too, which is kind of like a minor thing.
Because I remember this part because Res Edda goes to the Queen and is like, hey, by the way, I'm in a mind link right now with 1,000 Garoons, and they all say we want this stopped. And everyone, including the scientists, including Gar and Connor, including like everyone, it's like, and this is like, you've dealt with people getting mind blasted. You've dealt with people like 1-on-1 or like even like 1-on-5. So knowing like you're on the receiving end of like 1,000 voices in your head, I can understand why Beast Boy got extremely agitated.
Yep.
But of course there Res Edda is like, see, we this is all like against our culture and everything, and the Queen's like, dude, stop. John Jones literally is like a really good guy. You're gonna doubt him? Yeah, because he started it. And then even John Jones, before he even goes into the Zeta to test it, is like, hey, listen, we want to stop everything because our real and we want to stop this whole like debacle between Mars and Earth. We're trying. The Justice League is going to try and help you guys out. And the Queen mentions that the real enemy is not Earth; it's actually Apocalypse.
Yeah, as everyone should be aware. Speaking of which, we do get some quick scenes of Mal sneaking around the base of the Zeta Tube transporter, but he is captured by McGann as John is calming the citizenry. She scans him and says like he doesn't have anything on him, but he's shouldn't be here and he's up to some bullshit. We keep an eye on this motherfucker. Jean calms the citizens and he finally readies to enter the Zeta Tube. And as he does, as he activates it.
Oh yeah, as he walks in, and as everyone's like, oh yeah, John Jones is actually the best manhunter we had. He walks in, and we hear the Zeta Tube recognize Martian man explosion.
Yep, the entire Zeta Tube explodes as he is mid Zeta transport. And that is where the episode smash cut ends, but we get our new credit scene thing, which is
our
this
first
time.
One.
Yep, we see Black Canary talking to Violet, aka Halo, and she's saying Black Lightning, as the new leader of the Justice League, wants some mental health checks for all of the team members, including like outsiders and all the tertiary members, to make sure everyone's doing okay mentally with all the crazy shit that's been happening these past 3 seasons. Violet says she is still very upset regarding the situation with Brion. And she also is saying that like she needs to look more into herself and figure out her own situation. And also she wants to kind of explore Gabrielle, the body she's inhabiting's faith in Islam and all that kind of stuff, see if that helps her like weird situation with her being possessed by a mother box technically. And as she's saying that to Black Canary and how she's going to move forward, that is where the episode officially ends.
Yep.
So,
Woo! What a lot to unpack on the first episode.
Yeah, a new setting for me personally. Like I said, for DC Comics wise, this is a whole new area. I love seeing all the Bladens and the Garuns and Ashen. It's like and all the weird pronunciations of all the Martian stuff is very fun to like,
right.
Shit. I was gonna say, okay, the first thing I wanted to talk about was Carl Lumbly.
Yeah.
You may recognize him as Martian Manhunter from Justice League, the original TAS.
The OG one. Nice.
Yep. But he also voiced Jean Jones in Injustice, and then he played the father of Jean Jones in the Supergirl live-action CW TV show. Like, the actual actor played him in that. He plays like a Martian in a number of stuff for DC, but he's also a prolific actor and like outside of that as well. But he just reprised his role as various Martians, and now he's playing Martian Manhunter's brother-in-law in this thing. That's very funny. But yeah, he's a prolific actor. He's huge. But I was saying, like, in terms of actors who reprise roles, in like, you know, anime stuff or not even anime stuff, like animated shows, stuff like that, like especially TAS characters. Is there anybody in particular who you like love seeing come back as like various roles or interpretations or like side characters related to stuff?
Actually, I never really thought about that aspect of this.
Yeah, well, there's like,
when it comes to like a lot of like voice actors and stuff, I really that's not my territory. That's usually your stuff. Unless it's like someone I like know immediately or recognize immediately. As of right now, I'm just honestly, I'm a simple man with simple taste. I'm just glad that, you know, we got a lot of reoccurring characters coming back, especially like you said. The whole, like, this is going to be taking place on Mars, or Mars as the Martians call it.
Yeah.
And we get to see, like, how a difference, how, you know, how they are, and even get to meet some new characters, too, hopefully.
Yeah. I was going to say, one of the examples I like, of course, obviously Kevin Conroy playing Batman in 1,000 things for literally like 40 years now.
He passed video games, even the Justice League. And even a few episodes of Static Shock, too.
Yeah, well, yeah. Carl Lumbly was also in Static Shock as Martian Manhunter as well. And also, I think he was some other characters in that show. But, like, yeah, Kevin Conroy in all the video games, the Arkham series, even Suicide Squad that just came out. But also, like, also CW related. He played Batman. The actor himself played Batman in the Batwoman TV show in a timeline where he was like an evil Batman.
Wait, really now?
Yeah, he actually played Bruce Wayne himself as a live action actor.
That's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was a very weird episode, but yeah.
we can't talk about like reprising roles without. I mean, you brought up Kevin Conroy. We cannot ignore, you know, Mark Hamill reprising many of his roles either.
Oh yeah. Well, when he came back as a cockknocker in Jane Silent Bob Strike Back, you know, during their Star Wars parody movie they're making, Blunt Man and Chronic.
Don't worry. There was also that he also reprised his role as you know, the floating mask in fucking Splatterhouse, the Xbox game. He also reprised his role as which one of the Flash villains?
Of the Trickster.
Yeah, Trickster. Yeah, right. You know, all of the important roles.
Oh, Ben, you just made a huge mistake because he played the live-action Trickster on the live-action CW Flash show, where he went to the alternate universe with the '90s show Flash that everyone forgets existed. When they went to that universe in modern times, he was the Trickster in that as well.
You say big mistake. I say opening up a tangent.
Yeah. Also, I was gonna say, you think I was joking about the Jay and Silent Bob thing, but Cockknocker was a direct parody of both Luke Skywalker and the Joker, because the character he's portraying is the enemy of Blunt Man and Chronic, and then they all pull out lightsabers. So he's like he's doing a Joker bit and a Luke bit.
Hey, you know what I'm actually surprised about, Matt?
Yeah.
Why have you and Ed not covered that movie on Movie Garbage?
I fucking love that movie to death. I'll probably do the sequel one that nobody, including me, saw, but I fucking love Jay and Silent Bob back in the day.
Well, yeah, I know. And Movie Garbage is not always bad movies.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Actually,
mean,
you know what? You're right. That might be on my list. I'm curious. I'm very curious the reception of the new Jay and Silent Bob that nobody cared about or forgot existed is.
yeah, I was gonna say, look, I get movie garbage is called movie garbage for a reason, but you guys have done some surprisingly good ones.
Of course, yeah. But yeah, that was a nice little tangent about like recurring. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say was longest trip you've ever taken.
The longest trip I've ever taken, like
Yeah.
like honestly, I would say the longest trip I've ever taken, and it's only because of a vehicle. Because so I like the vehicle that was used. Because surprisingly enough, my trip to Belize in Central America was not
Hmm.
that long, thanks to the if you add it all together, it was only like about a grand total of like maybe 8 to 10 hours or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Hmm.
when I was a kid, on my dad's side specifically, we would as kids go cross country, literally from Ohio to Colorado by car. And
Yeah.
unlike normal people who would stop for hotels every now and then, oh no, my dad and my stepmom would just trade places, and then the other would sleep in the car, and we would try to go straight to. And it was about it's all like from Ohio, very East Coast to almost the entire like almost to the West Coast. Yeah, that's I would say that would be my longest trip I've taken.
Oh
What
yeah,
about
so
you?
yeah, yeah, definitely from back when I lived in Pennsylvania, or from when I lived in Ohio, driving all the way to California. My parents, we always drive everywhere growing up. So yeah, driving from the east all the way to the farthest west, all the way down to Mexico from here is like yeah, that's probably like love it. Also, I love like train trips between here and like Seattle is very very fun. Whenever we did those are very fun like treats because I always love train travel. But yeah, long cross country trips like that are always fucking dope as hell. And yeah, and of course, just like Beast Boy, being stuck with a family for that long, you go fucking crazy. But we always
Right.
did stop.
Uh,
So
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think a trip like interplanet trip would be fun, but just like this episode showed, even with like a very high tech Martian ship, it was still 1 month to get from Earth to Mars. So,
yeah,
a bit of cabin fever might instill a little
of
bit,
course.
just a little bit.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. So all right. So let's ready to move on to the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one's gonna be a little bit more interesting than the last.
Yeah, we'll see. We have season 4, episode 2,
Needful.
Needful.
We start off
Oh,
today. We've yeah. What was
I
that?
was gonna say, yeah.
Little
Go
extra-
ahead. Beast
oh.
Boy
Oh,
was
yep.
waking up
He's
from the explosion.
Yep, from the explosion, and of course, it's like he's like kind of dazed, but McGann picks him up. He's like, "Hey, you okay? You all right?" And everyone's kind of understandably freaking out because the Zeta tube exploded, but no one seems to be harmed from this. And and so Emery Jones is trying to like explain on through the Mars Earth communication satellite, like trying to get to the watchtower, like, hey, something went wrong. Can we know what's going on? And Beast Boy's also freaking out because where's Jean? He's not there. Did he make it? And McGann's like, I can't feel his mind touch. I hope everything's okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
The guards immediately blame Mal, the saying, like, that motherfucker's definitely behind this because he would do this damn filthy white Martian. She says, no, I don't sense any, like, intent for him to fuck with this thing, so I don't think he is actually behind this. We don't know what's going on, but I don't think he did it. And they say, yeah, of course you stand up for another white Martian, you dumb white Martian. You're probably in cahoots, or who knows. Yeah, Emery says that it is definitely has been sabotaged, and the guards are saying, okay, we're going to take away this fucking white Martian Mal because he's probably behind it. And then Mal's like, oh, look at that. I'm being, just because of my skin color, I'm being persecuted. This fucking place sucks.
and
We cut
McGann's
to-
like, hey,
yeah.
well, McGann's like, hey, I need to go. Me, my family and I, we need to go with him because we're family. And Connor's like, don't worry, we'll stay behind and try to chaos control this whole thing. Make sure
Yeah.
everything's like nice and settled here.
Really a fucking Sonic reference.
I couldn't think of the actual. I couldn't think of the actual term, so I went with one that Anyway, so we cut.
Emery is going to go to the Queen to try to figure out what happened and try to touch base. The consul general, of course, says, "Well, obviously the White Martian did it. Like he's a shithead." And it's just like, why he would attack his own like relative? And also, the Queen smartly points out, like, General, you're the one who didn't want this thing made more than anybody else, so you're a bigger suspect than anyone.
And of course, he's like, "Oh, that's an outrage. Why would you think that I?" And then gets interrupted by Prince Jem Jax, who's like,
Yep.
"Wait, is everything is everything true from what I hear?" Something we did not mention in the first episode that was touched on is news travels fast. Psychic news travels really fast. Like you know the expression, like, it spreads like wildfire. Well, this takes that to a whole new level. That's how fast.
Yeah, and we also
is.
did mention that the Queen and Prince Jem are both red Martians, so this is just to keep that in mind.
Yep.
We see the prince, and he's like, we also get a good hint that he is a very progressive person, just like his father was. He's trying to confront him, but the general's kind of playing down his relevance, saying, like, treating him like he's a little kid, even though he's probably a grown-ass man. Beast Boy and Connor begin to investigate the scene of the bombing. They don't find anything specific, but also that's when they again establish that comms are down and they're unable to reach the Justice League at the Watchtower.
At this point, also, they would not have found anything, but Connor used his super sight to see that there are actually two holes, like two holes in the Zeta tube. Yeah. Yep, 2 burn marks, and so that, I mean, obviously they're still trying to get communications with the Watchtower, but other than this one known fact of two burn marks, we cut to the Watchtower where Superman is just like trying to actually talk to Mars, like trying to contact with them. He and Cyborg are just like, any luck? And Cyborg's like, nah, I mean, we can't really do anything. And we also hear, so the trouble's on their end, not ours, kind of thing. Which means that hopefully everyone's all right, and we see John Jones is actually alive, and he actually did go through successfully. But Cyborg is like, Superman's like, can you not like teleport us there, boom tube us? And Cyborg's like, no, I need to actually have a lock on the location. But since I've never been there, the communications
are not not working functionally. They could end up in the middle of a mountain.
So Superman actually contacts Steel and is like, hey, we need the Javelin to the Watchtower. And he's like, all right, but it's going to take a few days because we're on the other side of the Milky Way. So Gar, Connor, and McGann are all on their own for now.
Yep. We see Emery continuing to try to fix the communications. She does eventually get in contact with them, and she does learn that Jean is alive. But as Steel is getting the ship ready, we see a mysterious figure blow up the satellite connecting Mars to Earth as they're trying to communicate. So they still, once again, they're being cut off from each other.
Yep.
Prince Jem finally meets Connor and the gang, and they kind of discuss, like, going forward how they're going to investigate this mystery. But like before that, while they're meeting, we finally have a clear shot of the Legionnaires. We see Phantom Girl, Chameleon Boy, and Saturn Girl. And they are talking, and they're saying, like, okay, well, we got to figure out, like, everything's going according to plan. Like, yep, it's going exactly how it's supposed to.
Yeah, and they're like, wait, what, you think this is what he would do? And, like, Saturn Girl's is like, hey, we got to stay alert, because this is all happening like it did.
Yeah.
And then we cut to... We cut to the prison cell where McGann and her parents are talking to the now Ma'ala Fa'ak. And, of course, he's just like, oh, yeah, you guys have been doing such a good job of raising us and everything. And McGann's like, Mom, Dad, I need to talk with him alone. And they talk brother to sister, like, hey, what's going on? And, Ma'ala Fa'ak is just like, yeah, we're both white Martians. And, so, like, 26 of us were...
it's 29 total, 29 kids.
Sorry, yeah. 27 of us were green, and the other 2 were white. Dude, our parents did nothing well to actually treat tolerance and, to not be racist.
Yeah,
And you know,
he says that they were both treated very poorly by their brothers and sisters. And Mal, this is when we finally learned that Mal wanted to go with McGann to Earth in the first place, but they were both immature kids. She kind of ran away from home, leaving her brother there, and that's how he got so radicalized and like became an actual like insane terrorist.
yep. And like as he was like, you know, dude, why did you abandon me and everything? You were my sister. You should have protected me. And you know, her response was that she was a kid too.
Yeah,
And
she's a dumb kid who ran away from home and fucked up, and it's just a really bad situation all around. But this is when we cut back to Connor and the prince for a bit. They talk about who it would want to cut them off so badly, and they also kind of start putting together like, do you think that the king's murder recently is tied to what happened? Because it seems like it would be. The prince says, okay, I'm going to send you guys all the information I have regarding my father's murder. And he does it psychically, which kind of, bumps Beast Boy and Connor a little bit. But Beast Boy seems more, like harmed by it. He kind of like gets really pissy and shitty about it. He's like, I'm sorry. I was just sending you the information. I apologize.
yeah, he's
But
just
Beast
like,
Boy's,
well, yeah, give a word. It's like, dude, like this is the first time where he got so upset that even Connor was like, dude, chill.
Yeah. McGann, let's see. Yeah, McGann's again with her brother, and she's like, listen, I'm going to need you to tell me everything about what you know about the satellite explosion and about, like, the attack on the Zeta tube. He, of course, refuses, but she says, hey, I scanned your brain, and I can tell that you don't know anything about the satellite explosion, so whatever's going on, you're not involved in that, so just tell me what you do know. He refuses to give her any information still.
Yeah, and she even points out that there's like one small section of his mind that's been blocked out. And she's like trying to get it, like
she threatens like, hey, if you don't tell me it, I'm going to force it out of you. And they kind of go into like a weird little mind palace. And he says, hey, please, you've seen too many Earth movies. I know that you're not, you don't do that anymore. You're trying to be good, so you're just trying to threaten. You're not going to threaten me. You don't have anything on me. Basically, is what he says at the end of the scene. And he's right, because she's unable to like force anything because she doesn't want to go down that path again because it almost like ruined her marriage or her engagement. So she does not, and she just kind of like leaves him in the cell. Or I guess like I find out later that he's actually really going to be released. We see McGann and Connor riding the sacred boat down the river, or a sacred river, while Gar continues to be a weird third-wheeled jerk, just kind of like complaining and floating around as his little form and a little animal form.
Which, by the way, audibly, like when it inflates and deflates, like when it deflates, it makes like an audible fart sound. Mind you.
Literally fart noises.
And of course, they're trying to have a good moment, and after Gar has a moment of being ugh and stuff like that. They Connor and McGann get a personal link, and they're like, what's going on? He's acting like a jerk. And McGann's like, well, I mean, he did just leave the Outsiders for a bit, and he's been with them for a long time, so he probably just needs to relax a little bit is all, maybe.
Yep.
In which case we see these weird like
the team.
Yeah. Oh yes, right. Looking through pictures and everything like that, and all of a sudden we see like these weird Martian dolphins.
Yeah,
and,
guess what they're called?
Yeah,
Marfins.
Yeah, they're literally called Marfin beasts. And of course, Gar's just like, yeah, hey, hold my phone and stuff like that, and turns into like his little inflatable thing. He's like, what are these? They're so fun. And then we learn that they're Marfin beasts. And
they're Martian dolphins, Marfins.
Yeah, pretty much. And then of course Gar transforms into one and is just like, having fun. And of course McGann's like, see, now what's this I hear about like, the murder and stuff like this? He's like, and Connor and McGann go through some of the information, pretty much what we already know, and what like he's just catching her up. And then we actually see the parent, McGann's parents come out and be like, hey, so going back to this whole wedding thing, this is our sorceress priestess. Her name is Sierra Smith.
Yep. We see that the Yalone priestess is a very progressive person because the old one who did their parents' marriage is no longer doing this. So she's gonna take the hit for a Green Martian and Earther wedding. We see that they explain that the groom and bridal parties are going to build various parts of the marriage altar separately with their like actual respective parties, and that's how the marriage is like. That's how they bond and everything like that.
Yep, the women make the canopy while the men make the altar, and
Yep.
also, you know, they're like, okay, what day do we want the wedding? Because you know, we want this as soon as possible. Because of the whole canopy and the altar, they can't do it tomorrow. So what about the day? What about the day after that? And then the sorcerer's priestess is like, well, there's a birthday party going on for the prince that day that I have to attend to. So what about
Yep.
the day after that? So they're like, okay, we're good. In 3 days, this is gonna happen.
Yep. Before the time discussion, we do cut back quickly to the prince, the queen, and the consul general talking again regarding how to to deal with the weird situation with the bombing and everything like that. The consul general continues to just make racist remarks regarding the white Martians and the Earthers, and the prince kind of tries to stand up to him, but the he meant the consul general mentions that the prince had also like he's being so progressive because he just had a recently failed marriage that we don't learn about until later. But the queen says that we are not familiar with how these kind of investigations work since we are a psychic society, so we will have to lean on the Earthers' help to figure out how like this crime occurred under our noses without us being detecting it.
I love this scene in particular because Reese is just like, yeah, Your Majesty, set your son straight. And she's like, nah, he did it good. We need to have these guys' help. And the princess is like, oh boy, I'm sure straightened out. I don't know, like seeing these jabs against Riss Edda is just like so
because Riss
fucking
fucking sucks.
But anyway, back at the Sacred River.
Yeah, then they have the 3-day wedding, the 3 days till the wedding discussion, and we also have a little flashback clip show memory thing. When we learn it's been 10 years since the beginning of the series.
10 whole long years, and you know they're kind of Connor and McGann, as newlywed couples tend to do often. There's like reminiscing on the good times and remarking on each other, and it's a cute little scene.
Yep. They also say that they're going to check on Bioship to see how she's doing too. But as they do this, the 3 Legionnaires watch on, but they sense an incoming attack is about to happen. McGann seizes the 3 of them as they flee, and the tunnel begins to collapse because they say like, we gotta shield ourselves or we gotta escape, and they choose to escape, and that lets her like sense them for a second. As the rocks are falling, Connor is actually hurt by the collapsing ceiling because we also see like the 2 beams come through again. Or the 2 beams seemingly come through the ceiling, crash it down, and Connor is hurt and bleeding.
Look. I think we're allowed to say that they're beams because we hear laser sounds, and then we see
also
2 holes, 2 burn marks in the same regard. So I think it's safe to say that they are lasers, but
Connor is actually visibly hurt. The rocks hitting him actually made him bleed. And they're saying, what the heck? How'd that actually injure you? And we realize that on Mars, he is A, further from the sun, B, he's been underground for the past couple of days, and there's less oxygen on here for him to absorb. So he's like all around, this is not good for a half Kryptonian already. He is significantly weaker at this moment.
And of course, he's all like, hey, relax. It's fine. I'm fine. And Gar, like, legitimately, like, because with all the brain blasts that he had, he's gotten a lot of flashbacks to like the whole Brion situation.
Oh no, not yet. We're gonna get them more of those next.
No. Well, no, there were some. But and then like with this, like Connor's like I'm fine, and Beast Boy like really leans in on the freak out. Like, dude, no, that's kind of weird that you're gonna die. That you can actually die just from rocks and stuff. And also McGann's like, hey, by the way. I felt a psychic presence for literally a split second, and now it's gone.
Yep. We cut to the Legionnaires saying that attack was specifically made to out them to McGann, and it's by their mysterious enemy who they have not revealed just yet. We cut back to seeing that Ma'al has been released, and he's kind of just slinking around some back alley area. But we do get to see a boom tube open up, and Desaad's nasty-looking self comes in.
Desaad came back, and he's looking very, well for Desaad.
Yep, he says he has a gift from Darkseid. And he also makes a little comment saying that their little Martian racism is very funny to him. Like, your petty little racism is very funny.
Literally, he's just like, wow, all it took was one tiny skin pigmentation, and all of you are going to war for it. This is
Yeah.
hilarious. And then he explains that this bomb that
A gene
Darkseid gave him,
bomb.
this gene bomb that Darkseid gave to Ma'alafa'ak because of what he did on New Genesis, if y'all remember that.
Yep.
He's like, yeah, here's a bomb that's gonna destroy all of the genes, all of the DNA of green and red Martians.
Yep. The Garoon and the Blondin
yep.
are going to be killed, but
here's the thing:
they're not 100. Yeah.
You say it. You say it.
Okay, they are not sure how it will affect mixed race Martians. And Malafak's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I really could care less. Honestly, I just want justice. And Desaad is just like amused by their petty little racism.
Yes, I'm evil.
Yeah, I am evil because my name is Desaad and I work for Darkseid. And then the episode ends, but then we cut to our end credit scene of the day, which is
Gar watching a video on his phone about Perdita and their relationship kind of being on the rocks after the last season stuff with Granny Goodness and everything like that. But also, we learned that the Markovians are leaving the city because Brion is such a psycho, and they're going to her city of Vlatova, where Vertigo and Princess Perdita are from. But yeah, people are fleeing Brion's country because of his crazy attitude, and the Markovians' society is very fucked up as of right now. But
even though they're even though they're on the rocks, she's like, you know, I wish my dad were alive. I wish you were here, kind of thing, because it's all going to shit pretty much.
Yeah. And yeah, that's when the episode officially ends. First thing I wanted to say, this episode of like the beginning half right now, at least, is all about siblings and family and fighting and shit like that. I know that you have at least you have more than one sibling or what?
Oh yeah. Growing up, I have had a total of 2 blood brothers, 3, 4, 5 step brothers, and 3 stepsisters. So to say, and mind you, for all of you who are listening in, and no, don't think too deeply into this. I've lived in a divorced family, so like that's all. Like the step sibling count is a mix between both sides.
I was gonna say, what was the worst fight that you've ever had with a sibling?
Well, that's hard to say because, you know, on my mom's side, when she married my stepdad, I mean, the vast majority of us were brothers, and there was like one stepsister on that end. So I guess the worst fight we would have gotten into involved beating the shit out of each other because, you know, as brothers do.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna say, I don't have any brothers. I have all sisters.
Honestly, I guess I don't think it was with siblings really. I guess the biggest like arguments I would ever have was quite literally with my stepmom because like, I don't know, like, I'm not gonna get into too much detail, but it was just there was a shift in when my dad married my stepmom, and I really just didn't like her, and by proxy being a dumb
issue,
and by proxy being a dumb kid. You know, you hate the step parent, therefore you also by proxy hate her kids.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I've definitely destroyed a lot of my sister's property back when we were kids growing up, and also I've I've said terrible things to my other half siblings that I have on my dad's side, but yeah, I think the most worst we've ever had is like me like getting super pissed at her and like destroying like her shit, like destroying books and stuff of hers and stuff. Whenever we have big arguments, but like we live together now still, and we still like have like shouting arguments at each other all the damn time. But that's just siblings. Fortunately, nothing like Olive and McGann have been going through, very fortunately. The other thing I was going to talk about, how familiar are you, now that they've been pretty much just completely revealed, anybody who's like tertiarily familiar with DC stuff would know, the Legion of Superheroes. How familiar are you with that like superhero group?
I'm going to be quite honest with you. Yep. I am as familiar as this show gets.
Really? You never seen, they showed up in Superman TAS. There was an arc where Supergirl went to the future and you meet the Legion. There's also
were they in I know they weren't really in Justice League, but were they in Justice League
they were in
Unlimited?
Justice League for a bit. They were in Justice League Unlimited, but I believe also Superman, the Superman TAS show, they also appeared in. There was also a Legion show back in the aughts on WB, which was really legit, very, very good. The main thing that they usually do is just like take young Superman, young Clark when he's like a teen and just developing his powers into the future, and like they'd go on adventures and shit like that. The WB show was incredibly good. If it was available anywhere to watch easily, I probably would want to cover it on the show someday. But it's very similar to this, so I probably wouldn't. But yeah, they're just usually a future team. They have a lot of really cool, interesting enemies. A lot of like fusions of current modern day DC heroes and villains make up the teams. I really do love Legion. I definitely was just checking out the TV show, but yeah, I love the aesthetic of the team and like the uniqueness of how they all look so like extremely unique right now. In this depiction of them, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they operate in the future. Yeah, but speaking of the future, let's get to the next episode in this little batch.
Absolutely,
we have episode 3, Volatile.
We start off with Beast Boy, Robin, Wonder Girl, Windfall, and Stargirl, aka the Outsiders at the time, ambushing the Cult of the Cobra.
I was gonna say, actually, the way it opens is, "Hail the Cobra!" Like,
oh yeah,
a straight up reference to
yeah, like,
Cobra Commandos.
We must do everything in our power, Cobra. And I actually almost sounded like him too.
Yeah, literally, he's doing like a straight up fucking Cobra Commando voice for Lord Naga Naga, as we know. This is the Cobra Commandos
for Yo Gabba Gabba. Got it.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very, very funny. With the Outsiders are kicking their butts in a very like fun sequence, and we zoom out to see that this is Beast Boy watching footage on his phone, and still being like a little snippy bitch about the no service on Mars.
Right? Yeah, it's just like him just being like emotional.
Yeah, we see that the prince appears to follow up on the investigation. I think actually this is when they mentioned like, hey, after we were just attacked recently, and it was the same twin beams. I mean, explicitly say like beams at this point as the Zeta Tube destruction. As they're discussing these new evidence with the prince, the lone priestess is around, and she shows up, and the prince and her are kind of a little weird, awkward second moment with each other.
Yep, and even with the introduction, the prince is like, yeah, we
know each other.
We've met once.
Yep. The father, Ma'at, says that he wants to begin the ceremonial building, but they also do simultaneously need to try to get this investigation underway too. So
yes,
it's kind of a split focus right now. How they're going to go
the prince
forward.
Is like, hey, do you want to see where the area where my father died? Ma'at is like, he does have to do the whole sacred ritual thing, and Connor's like, trust me, I agree with you, but I would like to see this. And then, we'll meet up with, I forget what his name is, because they do mention him by name. The other guy.
Oh, yeah, no, that's in a second. Before that, we do meet Baby, the offspring of Bioship. This is like, they finally show up. Like, we first see them in the middle of this conversation.
Bioship had a kid.
Yeah, and his name is Baby.
Her name is Baby, yes.
Yeah. Connor and Beast Boy continue to talk about the investigation. And this is when they're actually like doing the taste testing and everything like that at this moment. The Martians, Beast Boy says, like, you Martians have the exact same taste. It's like, there's no difference in you guys. Look at that, you guys. Your racism is stupid. Connor also senses some kind of familiar particles that he can't quite explain just yet.
Yep, and they look all sparkly and stuff. But he's like,
we don't know what this is.
I've seen this before, but what is it?
Yeah, I don't quite know. And then this is when the prince says, I would love to help build the groom altar, and they're like, it's kind of like for close people, I never got to build mine for my wedding.
Yeah, and then of course, I love this because Prince Shem's like, hey, I was almost married once. I know the significance of this. And then he's like, actually, this would definitely help out with hopefully all of Mars. So for me to be a witness to this. And Connor's just like, cool. How can we not refuse?
Yeah, sure. This is going to be great. We see the bridal party is riding around in Bioship. And we learn from again that Bioship plans to retire to Mars after this wedding. We also see a quick little flashback of Megan when she first took Bioship, and the two of them came to Earth to escape Mars, just to be away. And to kind of show like this, she's been with them for this like past 10 years as well. We also see that Megan's mother kind of comforts her regarding the whole situation of her running away and everything like that. But as they're kind of comforting each other, we see that Megan's sister, Emery, is a little bit distant from the family or regarding whatever the situation is. And then this is when we get one of our first Brion flashbacks from Beast Boy, and he kind of like freaks out, like, sorry, I was just had a weird flashback to Brion. It was like showing him killing the Baron. It was a quick little flash he saw.
And then after that little flashback, and after Connor snaps him back, we see Ba'ar's
Zaom. Yep. The Groom Party meets up with the former Green Beetle, Ba'ar Zaom, and he no longer has the beetle on him anymore, which is also a big reveal.
And of course, he's like, the prince is there, and he's like, I remember you. And Ba'ar is just like, I feel ashamed because of the whole Green Beetle incident with the Reach. And the prince is like, hey, bygones be bygones, my friend. You actually, after you got released from the Beetle, you helped Mars and Earth. So we're good. We're cool. Yeah,
you're completely cool. Do not worry about it. As they're like preparing to they're traveling to where they're going to start building the altar, Beast Boy continues to try to like break Connor, like, dude, Connor, you need to recharge before you get hurt. And he's like, come on, man, don't worry, I'm perfectly fine. He's like, no, you really should recharge, but he's just like, no, we got to finish with this first before we do anything. We have too much stuff going on to worry about that. We see the bridal party is putting together some kind of crazy crystals for the big
the canopy.
What's it called? Canopy, yep. Megan is talking to the Alone Priestess regarding the prince, saying, hey, it seems like the two of you knew each other. What's that about? And she's kind of still like being coy and not really direct about what happened between them.
Right. At first, it was just like, we had a thing once. We were in love once, but that was then because he was a prince and I wasn't, kind of thing.
Yeah, I wasn't royalty, so no.
It's like, oh, nice. Meanwhile, as that's
the boys, the boys are putting together lava rocks, but this is when they finally mention the Martian weakness to fire is like one of their, and like heat in general is one of their primary weaknesses, like kryptonite for Kryptonians.
Well, now hold on. They've mentioned that plenty of times in the past 3 seasons.
Have they?
Yes, they actually.
Oh, you're right, because when Red Inferno, used the fire to stop John Jones from helping them during that robot fight. Yeah, it's come up a couple of times. But yeah, they're trying to put the lava rocks together, but they're kind of stressed out and hurt. And also we see that Beast Boy is kind of, or not Beast Boy, Connor is kind of, fucked up from just being generally weakened in general.
And even the Martians are looking at Beast Boy, who's taken the form again of the Ma'alafa'ak, and they're like,
they're kind of weirded
this
out.
is kind of unnerving, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. But the lava does trigger a memory in Beast Boy of Brion. And he's just kind of sort of like freaking out a little bit. And then as he begins to freak out, we learn that Megan's father didn't get to do this as well because his wife's family disowned her for marrying an Ashen. So just like all around, like it's a whole like half the groom party didn't get to do this ceremony, so it's like real personal for them. Even though Connor's kind of like whatever, confused about it. It's very funny, like a little like minor like character detail for everybody. Like, yeah, a lot of these people didn't get to do this, and Connor, you should really appreciate what's happening right now.
Right? Yeah, it's like cool. We can all be confused together.
Yeah, Beast Boy continues to have more flashbacks of Brion, and he believes that like Brion is coming out of the lava actually and is about to attack Connor. And in this like freak out triggered hallucination he does hit Connor and knock him unconscious. Like he hits head on the rock. Though. Yep, he accidentally knocks him unconscious. And this is when he says, "Oh, I gotta recharge you, Superboy. Come on, we gotta go." And he kind of, in his Ma'alafa'ak form, picks up Connor and like begins to try to take him to the surface of the planet. But
as the prince and them are like, "Wait a minute, no, you can't do that because Connor right now is too weak for the surface of Mars."
Yep, and also last episode we kind of forgot to kind of gloss over it that there is a sandstorm approaching, but they weren't concerned because they weren't going to be going up there. But there's a very severe, dangerous sandstorm that they now have to worry about. This is finally when we go back to Magan and Emery fighting while building the
Well,
canopy.
oh no, they're carrying the canopy. They're done at this point, and then
Yeah, they have it completed and they're kind of talking about it to each other. Yeah.
yeah, and then Emery like kind of like snaps and like it's just like, oh, I never did this for my weddings. Why are you doing this all of a sudden, kind of thing?
Yeah, it's like, you don't give a shit about Martian tradition. Why are you even bothering doing with this stuff? And then she like you barely even care about being a Martian. This way, finally reveal Emery's issue with Magan is that she's like posing as a human too much and like identifies as a human too much, and it's very weird that she doesn't care about her people. But Magan then points out that she never felt like a Martian because growing up, Emery was barely defended her against her siblings, how like shitty they were to them, and it's kind of like another racial argument between the family. Emery and Megan's arguing does begin to disrupt the canopy and begin to crack it up a little bit. But yeah, Megan again says the same thing she said to Allison, like, I was a kid and I was being abused by the family and you didn't even care, you didn't even like try to help me. And she's like, I turned into this Martian this human. Emery turned into Rita's Martian form to make the like the Earthers more comfortable, and like she's upset that Megan has not transformed once back into her white Martian form. And she says like, no, I identify as this green and white human form more than anything. Like, this is who I am now. And the mother, as they're like arguing, the thing completely destroys itself and it's broken up the canopy.
Right. And that's when Megan actually like shifts into Martian form, is like, yeah, I'm not this. I don't feel like this is me. And that's when the mom's like, oh, like just now when you reverted to your Martian form, it didn't feel like you. Like, it didn't feel psychically like that was you at all.
She explains that
this long.
When she was a kid, she like, of course, like all Ashen kids would like try to change their skin to green and pass, but it would like feel psychically false to anybody around them, and they would know that they're not. So that would be something that's an important plot point later. But it's important that she tried to be green, but everyone knew that, and everyone knew it was fake. And when she transformed into her natural white Martian form, the mother said that felt as fake as when you tried to be green, and your human form is that's how you are now. So that's how that's how you should be. And also she mentions that Connor does identify as half Kryptonian, half Earther. So that's very important.
Right.
Later.
And of course, Emery feels very bad. Mom and Megan have a huggy moment. And even the priestess is like, well, I can see things are a little bit rough, but the fact that you guys are literally arguing about this, having this conversation, that just shows that you guys really do have a strong family bond. So Let's try this from the top again.
As that's happening, Beast Boy's having his hallucination continued freak out on the surface of Mars. He kind of like abandons Connor on the ground, like, I'm gonna find some sun for you, and he's like running around in a circle like an idiot. Connor is actively dying from the head wound and from the being on the painful surface because of the lack of oxygen and the lack of the sun and everything else, including the storm. The groom party eventually does finds Connor and try to rescue him by putting him back into the ship. Beast Boy is like still completely like abandoned. He's like losing all hope in the crazy storm. But then he sees a vision of Megan, who says that she is going to help him. He is psychically bruised from the attack, and it is affecting his judgment negatively somehow. But she like says, I can heal the damage from that psychic attack, but that is not going to actually heal the underlying issues and problems that are causing you to freak out currently. So you need to work on that yourself.
Yeah, we actually get her like Megan saying, hey, I cured the psychic aspect of this, but the trauma, the actual like emotional things, you need to get help. You need to find help yourself. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, hey, that's actually pretty cool that they pointed out that, the Martian whole telepathy thing is not a fucking miracle worker thing.
Yeah, it's not going to cure mental, distress or anything like that. So there's a very important thing that they needed to establish, and I'm glad they did it very, like, handedly.
Yeah. And so, as that happens, we actually see that, everyone's...
The groom party finally gets everybody up on Baby the ship.
Yep, and everyone's fine now, and even, like, the guard just like runs over and like hugs Connor's like, dude, I'm sorry for the way everything happened, but Megan helped me. She made everything better, healed the psychic damage and stuff. And they have a cool bro moment, but when Gar mentions like the whole like his sister healed him, he's like, huh? And then we go back
Yeah.
to the Jones house, and where McGann's like, I didn't do anything. I mean, I feel bad about like not being able to, but I didn't even know you were hurting. Here, let me take a look if you'll let me. And she does, and she's like, wow, no little surprises, but the psychic damage at least is fully cured. Wait a minute. I know this. I know this psychic touch. This is the same one that I sensed in the cave-in. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, these guys say, wait, so the person who tried to attack us tried to help us too? That doesn't make any sense. And as we zoom out, we see the Legionnaires looking on and talking and saying, man, this better not affect the past because you really fucked up, Saturn girl. And she's like, hey, she makes a little joke about causality loops. And she's like, hey, maybe I did it because I always did it. And they kind of look at her like, shut up. That's not how time travel works right now.
And she's like, look, I just, me. I really needed to. It's what we do. I needed
to help him.
And
it was very important that he does that.
Yep, and then we cut back to the Jones house for a little bit, where it's just like, hey, where Gar is like, hey, welcome, baby, you're gonna be amazing, but Bioship, I'm really gonna miss you. And then we cut to the altar, because looks at the Martian name. I'm not gonna try to say that one. We see like the canopy and the altar are all complete, and Connor and McGann, they share like a very like celebratory kiss. It's cute, it's adorable. Episode ends.
Yep, that is where the episode ends. Now I was gonna say post-credit scene is Clark sitting on the watchtower calling Lois with their new baby. It's very funny. Yeah, he's joking with her Johnny about like the baby flinging poop. Yep, with
right. It's just like, hey, look, I can see you at I can see you from here. I'm looking at you guys from the watchtower. No, I am not working at the watchtower to skip out on diaper duty. Wait, wait. He escaped his diaper? You found poop on the ceiling? Mm-hmm. No, it does not. It does not. Ours does not defy gravity, but he's awakening his powers, so that's really good. Oh, and you hear like crying on the other line. He's like, wait, is he crying? Is he upset? Wait, what, Lois? What are his eyes? Are his eyes turning red? Wait, like glowing red or? Wait, you're saying no. Wait, what's going up? Hangs up, super speeds. Cyborg, I need a boom tube now. Like the last thing you hear is just the boom tube going off.
The boom tube, yeah, very, very funny little scene. That's very humorous.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
That was a very good scene. Yeah, and that is the end of this episode. Regarding Bioship and everything like that, I wanted to say, what was your first vehicle that you've had, and when did you first get driving and all that?
Okay, so my first official vehicle, and I'm not counting the car I had before this one, where we really didn't do shit with it. But my very first vehicle was a I forget what year it was. It was an early year, obviously, but it was a Saturn. It was a silver Saturn that my grandparents used to have, and that was actually back when I was
Saturn was a company.
Well, that too. But that was actually the car that I had that took me to and from Medina, Ohio, and my hometown. And one Easter, because my grandparents took very good care of it. Well, one Easter, the car goes kaput to the point where it cannot work anymore. Because yes, my grandparents took very good care of the car, but because of the innate ability, like the innate usage of it, where it was just sitting in their garage for so long, the coolant tube had a small leak in it, and it just evolved into a big giant hole.
Oh boy, yeah, that's not good.
Yep, but that is the life and death of my first vehicle. What about yours, Matthew?
Growing up, my dad, he still does now, loves getting cars from like police auctions and shit like that. Like he always just loves getting those old cars and fixing them up because he's a very hands-on kind of guy. And so he loves like going to the junkyard, getting junk parts and stuff like that. So he always called all the cars he ever got for me and my sisters like Frankenstein cars from all the like dead pieces of parts he always put together from them. And they're usually fucking from a crime or something like that because they're from police auctions. But the earliest one that I had was it was a black sheriff's Jeep that had like they had the big sheriff logo on the side and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he like tried to, it was like a really old rusty ass one that like definitely doesn't feel like it's like safe to drive in, but it's like an old black and yellow sheriff's Jeep with like the stripes still painting on it and everything. He painted over most of the sheriff sign and tried to scrape up the letters as best he could, but like the IF in sheriff was like he couldn't get it off properly, so he just left it on there. And he's just like, oh, it's mysterious. It's like, well, what if? And it was just like, thanks, son, I'll drive this to fucking high school every day. It was, it was like a very,
That's
very weird ass car.
dude.
Yeah, it was a
my
very funny
God.
car. Me and my sister like split driving that one, and then after that we've been like Jeeps and Kias ever since in our family. The other thing I wanted to ask, wedding stories. How many weddings have you been to in your time? Like, do you have any significant memories from any of them?
I would say the only one I have a very significant memory about because I've been to a few. Don't get me wrong, especially like I was a part of the wedding of my dad and stepmom before that whole debacle happened. But the one that I have the most fondest of memories on was when my oldest brother got married to his now wife, and
nice.
I liked it because she had history with Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so she wanted to get married in Albuquerque. And so I remember getting on a plane and everything, going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and at least our little area of Albuquerque, I remembered actually liking it. And I know the whole like it was really the main difference was dry heat and like humid heat, and I know like the difference is one's in an oven, the other's not, kind of thing, but.
Yeah.
It was a good time. It was a great time. And it was an outdoor wedding. I wasn't really like a prominent role, except for I was just the brother of the groom, one of the brothers of the groom. So, but yeah, it was a great time. A lot of fun was had, and we got to have a little bit of like adventures going through Albuquerque. And yeah, it was a good time. What about you? What wedding
I was gonna say
memories do you have?
Two I'll talk about the most will be our friend Jeremy Arabak's wedding was an open bar, and it was at a really fancy ass like restaurant hotel place. And like I remember like me and Ed and everybody got fucking like drunk as shit because it was open bar. We just got tons and tons of alcohol. That was very funny. But right. My friend and co-host on another pod, Ed, I was the best man at him and his wife Leanne's wedding. I didn't get to do a speech because I don't think we had time for one of those, but it was like an outdoor wedding as well. And then it was a very lovely ceremony, lots of close family for both of them. Like Leanne's dad and mom drove up from Florida, and they were like very chill and very fun. We also got to, after that, we drove up to a campus to take some like wedding photos and stuff like that. And like everyone, you're such a big family that everyone's driving in their own vehicles, but I got to drive Ed and Leanne in my car. And I turned on the radio, and it was like a random Sirius station. It was like the Jimmy Buffett station. And since Leanne's from Florida, and Jimmy Buffett is like the patron saint of Florida, we just listened to like Jimmy Buffett movement while I drove them on their wedding day, and it was just a very fun scenario.
Yeah, I've only heard a little bit about that with Ed's wedding, and yeah, it sounds like a good time.
It was great, yeah. But yeah, like hopefully we'll get to see a nice wedding in this next episode.
Absolutely. But yeah, cool. And speaking of segues, that means we're gonna wrap this up with the final episode of this current episode, season 4, episode 4, Involuntary.
We see that they're still saying goodbye to Bioship at the end of her journey for everybody. They say they may really go into how she was as much a team member as anyone was, because she's been there since the beginning, and it's going to be sad leaving her, but Baby will continue on with them. Mal, we see sneaking around the base of the royal capital area, and we see him planting the gene bomb beneath the royal area.
And as this happens, we see like this mysterious figure who's been like orchestrating like a lot of things, or assumingly has been, because he's been there since like the Zeta Tube destruction. But we just see him watching all of this unfold. Man.
Yep, he's in this kind of weird device we can't really see the fully of, but yeah, he's a very young, dark-skinned man. We don't see who he is. We don't know what his origin is yet, but we do see Magan confronts Ma'alafa'ak in his like weird cave base, and kind of apologizes to him, saying, "Hey, I know that at this point you didn't have anything to do with whatever happened. I'm sorry that I abandoned you. Like I said before, we were just stupid kids, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm so sorry that I abandoned you, and I'm sorry that this is the path you went down. Do you accept my apology?" And he said, "No, I won't forgive you for what happened, and I won't regret what I've done. But you can say goodbye to Mom. You can tell Dad, I'm sorry." And she kind of like floats off, and he kind of just sits there and kind of like a close up on his face, not sure what his real like emotions are regarding the situation.
Meanwhile, after that happens, we see the at the ceremonial wedding altar. I'm just gonna call it like the altar from now on. The sorceress priestess is like blessing the canopy and everything to make sure like everything is set and ready. And of course, right now, Emery and her parents are the only ones there watching this blessing. And after she does the blessing, it's like, very good. The mom pushes Emery forward and says, "Go on, ask." And
she's like, Emery says like
yeah, Emery's
a very
like,
funny line. It's like,
about?
I'm a scientist atheist. I can't talk to a priestess for
right?
help with anything. It's stupid.
And of course,
like,
the priestess is like, what about telling a friend? And so she's like, "Look, everything Magan said to me about me was 110% accurate. I don't know what I can do to like start making amends with her." And of course, what a lot of people forget to do, a lot of people think doesn't do a lot. The advice of the sorceress priestess is, well, you could literally start by saying, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, it's a good start. We cut to Connor and Beast Boy thanking the prince for all of his help during their investigations. They're going to continue to try to investigate and figure out what's going on, but they do appreciate his help with the altar and appreciate his help saving Beast Boy and Connor in the crazy situation that happened last time. Again, the Legionnaires are watching on as they're discussing this. Connor, McGann, and Beast Boy finally sit down, and this is my favorite sequence of this entire arc. Like in these entire the last 4 episodes, they begin to piece evidence together like a fucking video game detective section. They say, okay, this is the evidence we have. This is the same bird marks. This is the situations of the attacks, and this is the history of the attacks. While they're beginning doing that, the consul general continues again to like talk to the queen about getting the Earthers out and just being a real shithead racist regarding everything, all the different kinds of Martians. This
is unique because of course the Prince Gem is like, dude, stop this, stop being a racist jerk, and he ignores the prince and is like, yeah, this stuff has gone so long that even the king would have stopped this foolishness. And that's when Gem drew the line and is like, excuse me, but you do not get to tell me what I do know and what I don't know, and you do not get to say what my dad would have done in this situation. And of course he's like, but my queen, please tell me that. And the queen's like, you heard him. Shut up and get out.
She finally stands up for her son, and the defense like, yeah, no, Consul General, you're a shithead. Fuck you. It took him long enough.
Right.
We see as they're investigating, these are all the royal servants and guards and royal members who were in and out of the castle that night. We tracked everyone who was there, but there was one discrepancy because one less servant than people who exited than who left. They find the discrepancy is between the white Martian servants, and they
7
say,
came in,
well, that's
6
not good.
left.
Yep. They say, okay, we'll discuss with the guard who this was and where she, what's her alibi and how this happened. She said they find her information from the guard. They go and talk to her, and she says, like, well, she was with another mysterious white Martian who we did not recognize at the time, and it was this guy with a huge scar on his face. So they find his identity and they track him down as well as saying that with the female guard the female servant who was there. They question him, and he says, hey man, what's going on? I'm cool. I like you, McGann, and I don't mind Connor and everybody. Like he's surprisingly chill. But they say that, like, oh, that servant who I was with, she was not a white Martian. She was a green Martian pretending to be a white Martian. And they're saying, like, wait, they didn't detect that? And it's like, no, the guards and everybody are too racist to think that a green would pretend to be a white Martian, so they didn't even think about it. And that like, why didn't you tell the guards that you said somebody weird like this? Like, well, they wouldn't listen to me because I'm white Martian. And like, why are you telling us? Like, I'm telling you because you are a white Martian. And so he trusts her.
Right. And
And
then
this is
we
when we cut to the prince's birthday magic show.
all magic and everything, just happy, cheery things. And you see the previous rulers and everything, and everyone's like, ooh, and even the queen's like, hey, son, you really, I can tell that you're really like upset and everything because you're showing it on your face. But can you at least try to have a good time? It is your birthday after all. And he's like, I'll try. And that's when Connor and the gang come in, and he's like, "Oh, excuse me for a second." Goes over and he says, "I see you have news. I can see it on your faces." And that's when they just were like, "Hey, there was a servant, a female white Martian who came in but never left, and he has a very visible display of, oh, cool."
If you'll
Thanks,
excuse me.
yeah, thanks for everything you've done, but I gotta process this, and he leaves. And so as they're watching the fireworks go off, Connor makes a click. He's like, oh, I get it now. So that residue I saw that I didn't know what it was, that was magic. See, every magic user, Zatanna or like Dr. Fate being the examples, they all have a different signature, like a different like all magic looks similar, but there's like some discrepancy that makes it unique to the caster. And what it is this is the exact same thing, but since it's Martian, it's like the same exact thing, only couldn't translate it because he doesn't know Martian pretty much, as his example. And she's like, and then McGann's just like, oh, okay, cool. Come with me. I'll explain on the way there. And
I mean, we only know one magic user this entire arc, but who could be behind this?
Come off it. We're getting to that literally right now because
of course.
Prince Jem walks over to Syrah Smith, sorry, and it's just
the Alone Priestess.
And it's like, oh, hi there, and then we get some. Long and short of it, we get McGann explaining that the priestess and the prince had a love interest in each other, but because
a love interest,
they were interested in each other romantically.
They were romantically involved, yeah.
However, we know that the king was against the whole white and green racism, but she's like, I bet you anything that the king still wanted the bloodline to be of the bloodline,
Still was royals to be the second.
Royalty having that good old fashioned I hate racism unless it's with my family. And then the prince literally in the next scene is like, hey, so my dad really didn't like the fact that he wanted our bloodlines mixing with other people's bloodlines. So that's why you killed him, didn't you?
Yeah, and we see her start to lose control of her magic a little bit, and she kind of glows and she's like, "What? And I would never. I love you. Why would I do that?" And while she's freaking out a little bit, Beast Boy licks her while her magic's going off and says, "Yep, it's definitely you."
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Phrasing, good sir. He licks where her hand was on the cement. You just say he licks
no, he licks her magic. I said licks her magic.
And he's just like, "Yep." And then of course they explain that all the evidence against, and she goes on a rampage. She loses.
Not really rampage. She's losing control. Yeah. She's not. Well, I say rampage, but she seems like she doesn't want to hurt anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's audibly you need to leave, Prince, because I can't. I don't want you to get hurt. And the prince is like, you know what? No, I'm staying right here. Which means if you're either gonna control this or I'm gonna die. And then she actually does control it, and she floats down, and he catches her, and she reveals she literally did not mean to ever have kill anyone or hurt anyone, and she opens her mind fully and she reveals that yes, she did sneak in as an Shen to see if she could convince the king that they love each other so much. Maybe
Yeah.
the king will be okay with his son marrying her, a green Martian. But of course, the dad was like, "No, it must be within the family. It must be royalty with
Within the
royalty."
family.
Look. Let's face it. A lot of
Yeah,
royalty was like that.
we've all
But
a lot
anyway,
of people have seen Game of Thrones
but
and watched
then
the
of
Tudors.
course, she also revealed that she didn't realize she had a calling, but when she did before this conversation, when she realized she had a calling and could not control her powers, she actually studied with the sisterhood, but like with the priests to try and control it. But
Yeah,
then
and
she
that's how
fell in love with
Yellow.
what? No, not yet. Because she
before?
fell
Oh
in
no,
love,
yeah, you're right. Before,
she tried to control it beforehand, but then she fell in love with the prince, and then she neglected her studies, which is why her powers went all haywire. And in the state that she was in currently, she killed the king on accident and then escaped through the fountain piping. But she literally, after that, she knew that nothing could happen between her and the prince. So then she took the Yalone because they lead celibate, solitary lives.
Yep. And then this is after that whole reveal, and like she's taken into custody by the prince, and just like they're kind of comforting her. We find the main team finally establishes, okay, so she has nothing to do with the Zeta Tube explosion, because she definitely would not have done that. There's no reason for her to have done that.
And
so what the hell's going on?
Yeah, and they also reveal that there was no lie. She willingly, openly. And speaking of that transition, because everyone, psychic news travels fast, and everyone's already talking like, oh my gosh, a Garone actually killed the king. Oh my gosh, this is weird.
Believe it.
And of course, Res Edda is just like, no,
like, oh, this is my chance. Let's keep being racist. You see, a green Martian trying to step out of their line, and that's why we need to keep the white Martians down, right, everybody? And people are like, yeah, fuck right with white Martians, and then it's just like, what the hell,
and the prince literally walks in and is just like, dude, no. First off, we literally had an open confession. Secondly, no. Yeah, yes, sure, we have this caste system, but no, it's not the right thing. We need to stop.
It's not right because that's what led the king to get killed, was the racism continuing. Like, that's the whole reason it happened. So let's try to stop this.
And then the queen walks up and says, "You know what? Yes, I agree with my son. We need to have these discussions still to see if we can get rid of the caste system. But right now, as of right now, because we are still going to talk about this, we still need to, celebrate life instead of death, because, this is a celebration of, a birthday rather than, the death of my husband. So let's keep doing that." And everyone's like, actually kind of mixed.
Yeah, they're kind of like, some people are on the fence, like, I don't know, what should we do? But while the Martian people are, figuring out racism, Superman and John Jones finally arrive on Mars, and Emery is the one to greet them.
Yep, and they're like, "Hey, where are the others?" And she's like, "I'm gonna take you to them right now." And then we cut back to the party.
We see the mysterious young guy watching on as the celebration continues, and he sees that Connor and the gang are just kind of hanging out on the royal by the royal procession and everything like that, watching the birthday events. As he sees Connor, we see him kind of smirk as he moves a weird sphere he's sitting into holographically, see-through wise. He just kind of goes through the floor, phases like a Martian does, into the ground, and he is the one. He goes to where Maal placed the bomb. The Legionnaires see, and they give chase to the guy who they're that's obviously this is the villain they've been tracking the whole arc.
As well as Connor, who actually
Connor hears this happening behind him, and sees wait, what the fuck was that? He sees the guy for a second as he's going down underneath the royal capital. They don't see what the guy does, but they do find the bomb there, and this is when they finally establish what the hell is going on. Gar senses Maal, and Connor deduces that this bomb is apocalyptic tech, and he also does the microscopic zoom in vision and sees that it has a virus inside.
Yep.
This is when they quickly deduce that they need to get out of here because this is obviously some kind of bomb that's probably going to, or probably planted to kill green Martians and who knows what else. And then like McGann saying, "Oh, I can help," and Gar saying, "Yeah, me too." And he says, "No, McGann, you're mixed. We don't know how this will affect you, and Gar, you have her blood, so we don't know how this will affect you as well."
He also senses a heat source underneath him. He's like, I'm going to go down and I'm going to put the bomb in there because this should destroy like the virus. It should be hot enough. You guys clear the entire area and get out of here. And of course,
Beast Boy says like, "Connor, wait, you're too weak. You haven't been to the sun in like days. You can't do this on your own." And he says, "No, trust me. I'm the only one who can do this. You guys need to get safety and also evacuate the palace." McGann up top goes to the center of the area and like on a big hollow projection screen tells everyone, "We gotta get out of here. There's a bomb. Everyone exit the royal palace," as everyone starts to flee.
And then of course Connor being weak in his weakened state, he can still punch through the floor, but he's actually like his knuckles are legitimately bleeding. And he finally breaks the ground, and he and the bomb fall into the lava, and he actually legitimately starts burning up a bit. But he still is able to crush the crush all of the little pods or whatever in the lava, and all of the virus gets destroyed.
Yeah. But in doing so, it still does explode with him underneath the lava. McGann goes after the bombing, after it explodes, and they assume like, "Oh my God, we have to make sure he's okay." McGann goes after him, but she can't sense him anywhere. And this is when Superman shows up, and he like goes to try to help with the bomb, but he becomes weakened immediately.
Hold on, before that, because McGann's like, "I can't feel his mind touch," and starts freaking out a little bit, and then Gar points out that there's a shadow mark on the rocks.
Oh yeah, we see the shadow in a second. Not yet. Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Because she starts freaking out about it, and so does Gar, and that's when Jean and Clark come in.
Yep. Superman's immediately weakened because the bomb was also laced with kryptonite, which is insane. They see. I couldn't tell if it was Connor beneath the lava or like they say like a ash shadow, like he was burned or like burned to ashes. It's not really clear. But they kind of get out of there as fast as they can, saving Superman and the rest of the Martians, make sure that the area is safe. Up top, Beast Boy kind of goes and saying like he was weakened from the sun. It was a bomb laced with kryptonite. We saw that weird ash shadow. There's no way he's alive. He's definitely. Oh my God, I can't believe he's dead. He's kind of freaking out, and McGann just completely breaks down.
Oh yeah, she's like trying to call for Connor. Nothing going on. She Emery literally gives her the big sister hug and just, "I'm so sorry for all of this," and it's just like. It is a heartbreaking moment.
Oh yeah.
And then we actually, which is stated even further because that's where the episode ends, and all the end credit scene is just McGann heartbroken laying on the wedding altar. Just that's all we get.
Thing of the planet. Yeah, an insanely heartbreaking thing to see at the end. Now that is the end of this 4-episode Martian arc for Young Justice season 4. I was gonna say, firstly, specifically about this arc, what did you think of how this went? Like, what did you think of the lengthwise, the subject matter, and how everything was handled?
I literally like this. This was not. I mean, obviously, it's the first arc. So it started off very strongly, and
it's a very weird choice for a first arc, though.
I mean, yes, but no, because see, here's the thing that Young Justice does well is it made sense. Like, yes, it was like, yes, they did focus on racism, which is very bad, mind you, but it also made sense because it had to do with Connor and McGann getting married, and before they have the ceremony on Earth. McGann was like, "Hey, let's do the ceremony on Mars," and Connor was all good for it. They touched up on racism and what the issue with racism, what it is, to a very they treated it super well, like they always do, and just obviously it's not going to end immediately, but. People a bunch of the Martians' eyes were open to the fact that it's
and the people in power do something to try to change it. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and because all that had to happen is people had to realize that it was a thing that is happening and needs to be stopped. And because of all of that going on, the higher ups, aka the matriarchy, because there's no king at the moment, was like, okay, yeah, we need to do something about it. Sure, there's people inside that were like, no, we need to keep doing good stuff. But it's like, no, actually, we need to stop this kind of thing. So it was good. It was good that they treated a very serious situation in a way that everyone can understand, and that nothing was glossed over. It was like, honestly, it was kind of one-to-one, because even Connor, we kind of glossed over this as well when they were building the altars. He was like, hey, I'm really glad that your brother Jean Jones like learned how to not be a racist, and like learn tolerance,
become tolerant and everything,
and because humans are definitely not as good, not good about that. And it was like issues with that. Like he also mentioned, and like this whole situation is like kind of one-to-one, because Matt, is it true that, I mean, it's only just skin pigmentation that separates you and me in the real world?
Yeah.
That's
it was
all
a
it
very
is.
interesting message, but I meant more like in terms of like length. Well, subject matter aside, yes, it was a very interesting thing for them to go into, and also, like I said, it's a very new, interesting part of the DCU that I personally don't really go into, the Martian storylines, because I don't read anything Martian Manhunter related.
Right.
But like compared to the previous season, like I said, the structure being different, like 4 episodes to tell a single story. I was gonna say, like, yeah, I enjoyed this one because it was so interesting and unique. I wish that they focused more on the actual investigation and not just like to the last episode. Like the whole like the actual sitting down, putting all the evidence together and figuring out was my like favorite highlight of this 4 episodes, because it was such a fascinating thing to like see. Like, okay, yeah, we came here for a wedding. It turned into a fun like murder mystery, and then a weird conspiracy between like nations. But then like what the 3rd episode felt like a little bit like padding, like filler. Like it technically really didn't feel like it needed to be there. The building the altar and the arguing with the family stuff. But I did love the mystery at the very end, them putting the evidence together, them actually questioning witnesses directly, them doing the actual like investigating the actual substances that they were at the scene of the crime, and then finally figuring out the motives. Like, I didn't see the actual twist coming until like the last second when they said like, oh, it's magic. I was like, okay, well then yeah, there's one magic person. But I love mysteries like this. I love mystery games like Phoenix Wright or Insomnium Files or like LA Noire. I love the whole like piecing everything together aspect of those. Is really, really fascinating. I wish they went into that a little bit more. But I thought the wedding thing was fun, and this is a romance that's been going on since literally season 1 for 10 years, and it's like such a fun thing to see it culminated. I was really shocked by the ending as well, with Connor dying. That was like insane to me.
Yeah, like holy shit. But I understand. I see where they're going with this. Like, don't get me wrong. It's gonna tie in together, obviously, but this season is like treated as an anthology almost, with tie-ins to with other arcs as well, mind you. But also, I feel like, I mean, see, I'm on the opposite end of you, because I kind of actually liked the fact that they were balancing the investigation with, everything that was going on in Martian society, as well as the whole family issues with McGann's side of the family, because we've already met the Kents, Grandma and Grandpa Kent, Clark and Lois Kent now. Just, we've already seen them, and we already knew how they were. I mean, country kid, like country folk. Yeah. Except for Lois, but country folk. So they've got hospitality and everything like that. And knowing that their son is an alien from outer space, they're like, yeah, okay, cool. Oh wow, what were we gonna say? No.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was,
but then we got to see we actually got to see a different society and how they treated everything. And how got to hear about some of their customs in it. It was very good world building.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This whole. I think that this whole season as a whole is some of the best world building like DC's done in a while.
And
Like,
of course,
it's really good.
and of course, with these seasons, I mean, you found out that McGann's family was not all as tight knit as it like seemed to be on the surface level.
Yeah.
You also
Also,
found
getting
out,
her original motivations for her leaving was also very fun to finally see.
right, and so like I feel like episode 3 was definitely necessary because they finally like I mean, yeah, sure, you got to see like the whole cultural aspect of how weddings go, but McGann and Emery definitely needed some goddamn closure. And rather than lasting a whole fucking season, they're like, we're gonna make this a quick one, and I was okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed this arc a lot. I really love this structure. The like 4 to 5 episodes for a arc thing. I really love because it's actually like each arc feels like a good DCAU, the animated universe movie. Because like those are like, a whole like arc thing in themselves. But like it feels like each thing feels like a appropriate, fun length, long, interesting story. And I'm looking forward to covering the next couple coming up. This little bit for Action Toon Bros.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait till we keep going with this because I've told you, I've been excited to do this for quite some time. It's just I wanted to see about other series as well. But yeah, this one right here, like it's a breath of fresh air that we're actually doing this again because it's been far too long since we've done any superhero stuff ever.
Oh yeah. Well, all right. I'm ready to wrap up this little episode and this little arc for Young Justice. Any plugs yet, Ben?
Nope. How about you?
Matthew Lewis podcasts everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Patreon. Action Toon Bros. Listen to the old episodes. Freaking Forgotten Minotaur King. Buy the book or listen to the audiobook for free. And then there is also, of course, Movie Garbage coming back soon, hopefully. Or maybe, I don't even know how I'm going to post these in post order. Maybe they'll already be back. Listen to old episodes of that as well. It's always fun to, like, get backstory. I do need to start streaming on Twitch eventually because I do like that. ML Podcasts on Letterboxd if you want to see, like, movie reviews that I do for modern stuff that I'm watching in theaters. But yeah, just... yeah, I'm looking forward to covering the next arc because the next arc I'm really excited for. So
yeah,
so
I
prepare for some real fucking
so.
yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed this. I know people probably like were really weirded out about it, but I really enjoyed this arc and I really love the next couple that's going to happen after this. So we'll keep you posted.
Yep, absolutely.
And from us at Action Toon Bros, keep it
sleazy.
sleazy.